They used to have a happy family, used to hug their child to sleep every night. But then, she left. Not a word of goodbye, not even a hug for the child. Only he remained, and the child still didn't understand why his mother disappeared from this world. Little Rio grew up day by day, without his mother's arms, without gentle lullabies, or dinner waiting for him. Every morning when he woke up, he still looked at the other side of the bed, where his mother used to lie. But now, it was empty. Rio's father, Liam, tried to be both mother and father. He clumsily learned to cook, meticulously, combed his son's hair, sewed each old shirt by hand. But there were nights when Rio was fast asleep. Liam quietly sat on the balcony, finished his glass of wine, and cried silently. Not for himself, but because he could not replace the image of his mother in his son's heart. The first days after she left, the house became eerily silent. The sofa she used to sit on still had a dent. The pillow still had her scent. But the person who used to lean on it was gone. The son still laughed and joked innocently, but every night he asked, "Where is Mom, Dad? Why is Mom taking so long to buy milk?" He forced a smile, stroked his son's hair, and said, "Yes, Mom went away for a bit, but Mom loves you so much." That said, every night was a battle between his silent crying and the silence of the room. There was no longer the sound of her making tea, no longer her hands rearranging the toys. Only a man, struggling to be a father and learning how to be a mother. Rio gradually became quieter. He smiled less, spoke less, and often just sat and drew. The drawings were filled with the image of a woman. Long hair, blurry face, as a way to hold on to a vague memory of his mother. Whispering softly, "Mom, where are you? Why don't you come back to me? I miss you so much." Liam had opened the chat box of that woman many times. The one who had left without a word. Once, he wrote, "Rio misses you. The boy dreams of you every night." But then, he deleted it. Once again, he wrote, "I don't blame you. I just want you to know, the child is still waiting for a hug." From his mother, he always asks, "When will Mom come back? How will I answer?" And then, he deleted it again, night after night. The lines of messages that had never been sent were as thick as a diary. But he didn't have the courage to press send. Perhaps, deep down, he was afraid. Afraid that he was just a meaningless clinger to the memory of someone who had forgotten the way back. One sleepless night, he opened his old phone again, where thousands of messages and photos the two of them had shared were kept. Today, I called Dad and asked, "Dad, will Mom come back tomorrow?" Every time my child called out, "Where is Mommy, Dad?" it was a knife that cut deep into my heart. I could only smile sadly, pat his head, and lie. "Mommy is working far away. She'll be back tomorrow." However, I knew that tomorrow might never come. Each word cut into my heart. There were pictures of her holding her child in her arms, her smile full of love. There were clips of her whispering in my child's ear, "When you grow up, you must love Dad as much as Mom loves Dad." I buried my head in my phone, tears falling on the screen. How could you leave when you yourself said, "This love is forever"? The love that was once so beautiful, and yet now, there were only paragraphs that no one read, and times of typing and deleting. Like the pain in my heart, no one saw, but it never disappeared. One afternoon, when I picked my child up from school, I stopped. At the end of the small alley, there was a woman standing by the electric pole, her hands trembling as she hugged her old handbag. It was her, much thinner, her eyes red, confused, as if she didn't know whether to come forward or turn away. The boy suddenly shouted, "Mom!" He was startled. His heart felt like someone was squeezing it tight. She took a few steps forward, but stopped, looking at the child. Her eyes were filled with love. Looking at him was just a silent sorrow. "I just want to look at the child for a bit, and then leave," she said softly, her voice trembling. As if about to break, "What about you? Don't you want to look at me anymore?" The question popped out, but he didn't dare wait for an answer. At that moment, the hearts of all three felt like they were being squeezed by thousands of unspoken questions. Sometimes, people return, not because of love, but because the place they left no longer has a place to lean on. The question slipped out, but he didn't dare wait for an answer. At that moment, the hearts of all three were suffocating beneath thousands of unspoken questions. Sometimes, people return not because love still burns, but simply because there's no other place left to lean on. One quiet afternoon, while he was gently washing each of her old bras in a basin of cold water, the door behind him creaked open. She stood there, the woman who had once walked away without a word, her eyes swollen red, clutching a worn-out suitcase. He froze. No words, just silence. She stepped forward, eyes trembling as they met her. Child's gaze, the little boy staring at her, confused, unsure whether to run or cry. And then, she broke down. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I miss my child. I miss you. I miss this home so much it's tearing me apart." He didn't move. His eyes glistened, but his face remained cold. "You left us when we needed you the most. Now you're coming back, just because you feel lonely?" "No." She shook her head desperately, tears falling. "Every single night, I hear my child calling me in dreams. I don't want anything else anymore. I just beg for one thing. Let me be a mother again." She sank down on the old wooden steps, hands shaking, voice cracking through her tears. "I'm sorry." The child ran forward, wrapping his small arms around her, whispering over and over, "I missed you, Mom. Please don't go again." Her whole body trembled. She held him tightly, like trying to piece back all the lost years in one fragile embrace. But her eyes, they still sought his forgiveness. "I made a mistake, but every day away from you, both was like dying slowly. I don't expect you to forget. I just want to hold you again, just once." He walked toward her, stopping in front of her shaking figure. His voice was low, choked with emotion. "You can walk away, but I can't stop loving you. If there's still even a little love left, please, don't disappear again." Then he turned away, hiding the tears threatening to spill. "I don't know if this heart can survive another heartbreak, but if you truly need me, I won't be selfish." She suddenly collapsed to her knees, wrapping her arms around his legs, tears soaking the floor. The little boy ran over again, hugging them both tightly. "Dad, don't be sad. Mom's back." And just like that, for the first time in months, the three of them held each other in one long, silent embrace. No words, just the warmth of broken souls trying to heal again. But will this return be enough to mend the cracks? Or is the pain merely hidden beneath a softer layer? See you in episode 4. Is forgiveness enough to love again? If you've ever seen yourself in this story, leave a comment below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to follow the next chapters of Midnight Musings stories.